Snell, Glasnow, Bieber, and Burnes. The Angels need a starting pitcher this offseason, and they've been linked to a lot of free agents like Blake Snell and trade targets like Tyler Glasnow and Shane Bieber and Corbin Burnes. Obviously, when it comes to the Angels, there's always the question of, will they? But today, we're going to take a look at each of these pitchers and ask, should they? It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. Whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. You can make every moment more. And right now, new customers like you can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started.
Happy Friday to you, and thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every single day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, quick programming note for you. Locked On Everydayers. Monday, Wednesday, Friday will be our new schedule starting this coming week as we take a little bit of a breather in the offseason. Mike, man, it's a lot of fun to crank out 5 episodes a week, but it's also a lot of work. So we are grateful for our little break here. We'll be doing that until right before spring training. However, there will be some short form content, some little things in between each episode. Mike, I'm even thinking of doing some of the, do you like video essays on YouTube?
Love video essays.
I'm going to do some video essays about
the
Angels. So I think it'll be fun to, do a little experimental stuff this offseason.
Yes, absolutely. And if there is any breaking news, always check out our YouTube shorts and our social media, because we're going to be here to let you know that Shohei Ohtani has re-signed. See what I did
right.
there?
That's right.
And Yamamoto signed. See what I did there?
Hey!
So all of that will be coming too. So when you see big news, hear big news, see the players sign, we'll be here for you. Whether it's a Tuesday or a Thursday, we'll still be here for you and making those announcements for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, that will not change at all. Hey, on today's show, we're looking at the available pitching options out there that the Angels have been linked to. Now, we did find out yesterday that there were talks between the Angels and the Blue Jays about Alek Manoah, but the talks were stalled. I still think it would have been too awkward for Taylor Ward and Manoah to be in the same clubhouse, but that's neither here nor there. We're looking at Snell, Glasnow, Bieber, and Burnes, and who's the best fit for the Halos. Mike, we thought we'd start it out with the one guy who's a free agent in this conversation, and that's Blake Snell. Why don't you start us out?
That sounds like a 60s band. Snell, Blackburn.
Yeah,
Burnes.
right?
I love that. All right.
Crosby, Stills, Nash, and then Young for a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about Blake Snell. He's a left-handed pitcher who's coming off his second Cy Young winning season.
Yes.
He is a free agent, and the Angels have been rumored to be interested in him. He previously won the Cy Young in 2018 with the Rays, Johnny, and then in 2023 and 2018 when he won the Cy Young. They were the only 2 seasons that he pitched 180-plus innings.
That's
so
right.
let's take a look at last season. Snell started 32 games. It was the most of his career. He was 14-9 with a 2.25 ERA, and this was for a Padres team that wasn't very good. They didn't finish at 500. And so 180 innings pitched and 45 earned runs, 15 home runs, 99 walks, and 234 strikeouts. Wow.
Woo!
That's a lot of strikeouts. I didn't realize that he had a lot of swing and miss power in that. That's great. ERA plus of 182, which was the best in Major League Baseball, John.
Yeah. 82% better than league average. So ERA plus, where 100 is league average, Snell was way above and beyond that. So he did, however, lead the league in walks, Mike, as a qualified starting pitcher with 99 walks.
Oh, well, then we don't want him. We're tired of the walks.
Essentially 5 walks per 9. Now, Charlie Morton of the Braves and Johan Oviedo of the Pirates were next behind him with 83.
Now, I heard a couple of baseball people talking about Snell, and they said that Snell is good with walking people because he strikes out a lot of people. It's almost like it's a part of his game, right?
His left on base percentage is off the top of my head, I want to say it's like 82%. So
wow,
guys get on base, but he's able to get out of the jam, which is really significant. He uses a 4-pitch mix, Mike. He's got a 4-seam fastball that sits about 95. He's got a curveball at 81, a changeup at about 87, and a slider at about 82. Now, you mentioned this. What's good about Snell? Well, let's talk about his swing and miss game. He ranked in the 98th percentile in all of baseball in whiff percentage at 37.3%. He was 94th percentile in K rate, a 31.5 K rate. In fact, he actually improved that part of his game, or there were some improvements in his game from 2022 to 2023. His hard hit percentage in 2022 was almost 40%. Wow. In 2023, it was down to 33.8%.
That's great.
He improved his average exit velocity in 22. It was 90 miles an hour. In 2023, it was 87 miles an hour. The launch angle, Mike, in 2022, this is significant, 17.1 degrees off the bat. So hitters were hitting at a really good launch angle. That's good for fly balls and home runs. In 2023, it was 10.6 degrees. And remember, the optimal launch angle off of a bat for hits and home runs is about 15 to 20 degrees. Now, he is tied for third in MLB with Pablo Lopez with 234 Ks. Mike, that's good for 11.7 Ks per 9. So almost 12 strikeouts per 9 innings with Snell. Now, Mike, what's the downside to Snell?
Obviously, the walks were an issue, about 5 walks per 9. A lot has to do with his use of the slider and the curveball to get guys to chase. His chase rate last year was the 3rd worst of his career, 38%. Last year, it was 62%. And in 2018, it was 82%.
Woo!
So he's really had people chasing and missing. But last year, didn't really have him chasing and missing, at least the slider and the changeup.
Right.
The strikeout rate that he has is legit, Johnny. It could be a matter of just showing your weapons too soon is why he walked a lot, and maybe something Barry Enright could work with him on if the Angels do sign him. It was something that Barry Enright talked about with Reed Detmers and with Tyler Anderson. And Snell has a reputation for not going deep into games, and that could be a problem with this Angel starting rotation as well, because we experienced that last year. And in 2023, he did have some 6+ innings in 20 of his 32 starts.
Right.
In 2022, 6+ innings in 11 of his 24, and then 2021, only 7 in his 27 starts. So that's something that I think the Angels would need to keep an eye on, because as we've talked about with Patrick Sandoval, he was a detriment to the bullpen because he wasn't going deep into games.
Now, there is something to be said about the fact that, yes, he hasn't gone deep into games historically. He did do that, like you said, in 20 out of 32 starts in 2023. But Mike, by virtue of that, he's got less than 1,000 innings in his career. So there's not a lot of mileage on that arm.
Yeah. I think if he can improve the walk rate, which he's done a lot better with in the past, that's going to help him a lot. He has a career 1.235 whip. So he typically has hitters get on, maybe once, 1.5 times per inning.
Right.
He is a Scott Boras guy. So that he is going to get Scott Boras money. That means that he is going to get paid. Robbie Ray is a Scott Boras guy. He came off a Cy Young season.
He's not actually.
Oh, he's not a Scott Boras guy.
I made sure to look that up. Yeah. So Robbie Ray coming off his Cy Young season and signing with the Mariners, 5 years, $115 million. That was an average of $23 million a year for Robbie Ray coming off of his Cy Young season. And this is Snell's second Cy Young season.
Right.
So with Boras, I think it's going to look a little bit different, right?
Yeah, Snell made $16 million last season, and he has a qualifying offer attached to him. So you'll have to give up a draft pick if you want to sign him. And MLB Trade Rumors says that Snell will probably get 7 years, $200 million, which is about 28.5 a year. The Athletic says 5 years, 122. Feels like a big difference there. And they're about 24.5 million. So Johnny, what are the benefits of adding a left-handed pitcher like Blake Snell to this Angels starting rotation?
Well, he immediately becomes the ace of this staff, right? The Angels need a true frontline starter, and I think that's what Snell could be for them. I don't know if he is the kind of frontline starter that is at the front of every championship team.
Yeah.
In the sense that when he goes out there, because yes, he did go deep, 6+ innings in 20 games last year, but you kind of want that 75% of your games, Mike. Like I think that there's more to being an ace than just like these incredible numbers that he's had this year, right? Leading the league in ERA and all of that, and having so many strikeouts. But it's got to be a guy that you can trust. Now, he does have playoff experience, something that is missing from this Angels rotation. None of our young guys have been there before. And he seems to be the kind of pitcher that Barry Enright is emphasizing, according to his interview with Sam Blum, in the sense that these are guys that get to 0-2 really fast and then want to emphasize the strikeouts. And perhaps, like you mentioned, Snell was showing his weapons a little bit too soon. And he said the same. Enright said that of Anderson, like, hey, you're showing your changeup way too soon. Or Detmer's out pitch is being shown way too soon.
Right.
I have a feeling that's what has gone wrong with Snell and that walk rate. So I would say that he would fit right into this rotation. But is he worth that $24.5 to $28 million deal, Mike? Would you do this deal?
Here's where my gut's at. Signing Blake Snell feels like a Snell and you have to get somebody else.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
Yes.
It wouldn't be just a Snell period. I feel like you have to get somebody else. And where I would hesitate with this deal, and don't get me wrong, I love those numbers, and I think he would be a great addition to this rotation, but it's another lefty. And so you've got Anderson, Detmers, Sandoval, and then you've got Snell. And then if you have Suarez in that starting rotation, right? I know that Canning and Skillseth, that's not going to happen, right? Yeah. I want to see if you catch me on that one. Yeah. But the truth is it's another lefty, and the Angels certainly don't need another lefty.
Right.
I feel like they need a strong righty. And so $25 million to $28 million for Blake Snell would be great if maybe you're going to go get somebody else as well.
Yes.
But I just don't think that you do this by itself.
You sound like an improv guy. Yes, and right? Like that's how it works.
Yeah.
Mike, if all of this goes down and the offseason continues on and Snell is like one of the last guys on the board, or the Angels haven't made a move yet and there's not that many great options, then I say go for it. I mean, they have to get somebody like this for next season and for the future seasons. And so if, to me, I think I'm looking forward to the other options we're going to be talking about here in a minute. But if it comes down to it and the Angels like need somebody, I could see them making this Snell deal for sure. Hey, coming up on Locked On Angels, we're just getting started here, and we're going to be talking about the trade candidates that are out there. It seems like the Angels are privy to the trade route. So we think it's really important for us to talk about that. So we'll get into all of that coming right up.
We're talking baseball right now, but let me turn your attention to the NFL because our friends at FanDuel are sponsoring today's show. And with FanDuel, you can get involved in the NFL in a very intentional way. You, right now, new customers can win $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on all of the action. The app's really easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. And as we've said on the show, they explain all of those things on the app if you're new or newer to betting. FanDuel is a really great place to visit, a really great place to learn. FanDuel.com/lockedon is where you can get started and get involved in the NFL season and win, hopefully, $150 on your $5 money line bet. If your team wins, that would be great.
We're getting close to playoffs here, Mike. We're in the middle of December, and man, there's going to be some good bets to place for the NFL playoffs, right?
Absolutely. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon right now, and FanDuel is the official NFL partner of the NFL.
The betting partner?
Yes, that's what I meant.
That's what you meant. This is the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. And we want to thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen every day. Hey, Locked On Everydayers, if you're interested in getting the best sports coverage out there any time of day, any time of night, you know that you can go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube. It's the first ever 24/7 sports streaming channel. It's available on YouTube. Just search Locked On Sports Today. They're here for you 24/7, covering the top stories in sports with local experts from all over Locked On Podcast Network, plus all the national shows that cover the NBA, the NHL, the NFL, all that good stuff. So again, if you're a night owl like me and you're just wanting to get some sports news, head on over to Locked On Sports Today any time of day. Check it out on YouTube, subscribe, and be part of the first ever 24/7 sports streaming channel.
Everydayers, the Angels have been rumored with making trades with some teams, and there are two particular names that we want to cover. Johnny, I'm going to start with the first one, and that is Tyler Glasnow.
Oh, go for it, baby.
So last season, Glasnow had 21 starts, was 10-7 with a 3.53 ERA, 120 innings pitched, 47 earned runs, 13 home runs, 37 walks, and 162 strikeouts. He had a 1.18 ERA plus and a 12.2 Ks per 9, a 2.8 walks per 9, which is much better than Blake Snell's, and his whip was really low, a 1.083. Now, his FIP, his fielding independent pitching, was 2.91, which pretty good compared to where his ERA was. So he was really outperforming what his ERA is, and so that's great. So it kind of measures like the bad luck, right? The bloops and the dinks and the dunks and all of that stuff.
The way I like to explain it is if you pretend that there is a league average defense behind this pitcher and they aren't making mistakes and they're not making errors and they're making all the plays they should make, there's no bloops or dinky doos or anything like that, then that's how you can think of FIP. And so for Glasnow to be at 2.91, that's really significant because that means he manages and controls the game very, very well.
Yeah. Now, Glasnow did miss the start of the 2023 season with an oblique issue, so he'll fit in with the Angels. Exactly, right? Now, previously, he had an elbow injury, required Tommy John, and he missed most of 21 and all of 22 except for 2 starts at the end of the year. And Johnny, he's got a 3-pitch mix, a 4-seam fastball that hits at about 96 miles an hour, a slider at about 90 miles an hour, and a curveball at about 83.9 miles an hour. Now, he's owed $25 million, which is why the Rays are considering trading him because, they're not a team that spends a whole lot of money. And so they're looking for a trade partner for Tyler Glasnow.
It cracks me up how the Rays do business because they sign their elite starters and players to these great contracts, but then they make it somebody else's problem when it comes time for them to get paid. Like Glasnow, don't get me wrong, Glasnow deserves every bit of that $25 million.
Yep.
But it does make me laugh that, of course there's going to be takers out there for Glasnow, but the Rays are like, we can get somebody else to pay it, right?
Right. Now, here's some things that are good about Glasnow, John. Like Snell, he's a strikeout pitcher.
Yeah.
33.4% K rate, which is good for the 97th percentile.
Mm-hmm.
And then his whiff rate is 35.2, which is good for the 95th percentile. He had a chase rate last year of 30.1%. That's good for 67th on the percentile. And then he doesn't walk a lot of guys, which is perfect for this starting rotation, right? 7.6% walk rate. His expected batting average on his pitches is essentially right in line with the actual batting average, so there isn't any regression there. Johnny, those are some of the upsides. What are some of the downsides of Tyler Glasnow?
Well, other than 2019, when Glasnow gets hit, he gets hit hard when he gets hit. So his average exit velo is 90.4 miles per hour. And it makes sense because he's throwing hard. And so, the momentum off of his fastball and whatnot, if that gets hit, it's going to get hit hard back, right?
Yeah.
Now he does have an 11.6 barrel percentage. So you can think of that as the barrel of the bat, the beefy part of the bat is where the ball is being hit. And then he has a 44.6 hard hit percentage. So again, when he gets hit, he's getting hit hard, right?
Yeah. Johnny, would you make a trade for Glasnow, and would you take on this $25 million contract?
Mike, I think that if the Angels were to trade for Glasnow, they would need to make it worth his while and their own while, because if it requires a Patrick Sandoval, a Chase Silseth, a Griffin Canning, or a Reed Detmers, then you've got to extend Tyler Glasnow. You have to give him that $25 million, but then you have to make sure that you lock him down for the next 4 to 7 years, right? This has to be worth everyone's while. So yes, it's a risky trade here, but I think it's worth doing if they're able to lock him down for the future. Mike, let's talk about Shane Bieber in 2023. He had 21 starts. He went 6-6 with a 3.80 ERA. He pitched 128 innings. He had 54 earned runs, 14 home runs, 34 walks, and 107 Ks. He had an ERA plus of 110, so 10% better than league average. 7.5 Ks per nine, 2.4 walks per nine. I love that. A 1.234 whip. Hey, 1, 2, 3, 4. And a 3.87 fielding independent pitching. He's got a 5-pitch mix, Mike. He's got a 4-seam fastball at 91, a cutter at 86, a slider at 85, curveball at 83, and a changeup at 87, which he only threw to lefties this last season. I thought that was interesting. He will be in arbitration for 2024, and the estimated salary for him is about $12.2 million. He did miss time from July 15th to September 22nd with an elbow issue. Now, here's what's good about Bieber. He's got a great ground ball rate. It's 47.5%. That ranks in the 75th percentile of all pitchers. His walk rate of 6.4% ranks in the 80th percentile. But Mike, let me tell you why I'm avoiding Shane Bieber. Here's why. What's the downside? There's a lot. Bieber has shown a lot of regression since his Cy Young in 2020. His expected batting average in 2023 was the worst of his career at 284.
Wow.
So hitters are expected to hit 284 against him. And that's climbed each year since 2020. And again, 2023 was the worst. He outperformed his expected numbers on all of his pitches, which means that he's due for regression. So even though he's outperforming it now, there will come a time where all of those numbers on his pitches will climb towards the expected number. 2023 was the worst hard hit percentage of his career at 47.8%. It also had the worst exit velo at 91.6 miles per hour. That was the average exit velo was almost 92 miles an hour off the bat. And the K rate has declined and the expected ERA has actually climbed up. So if you want to know what regression is, if you've heard us talk about that before on the show, I encourage you to go to baseballsavant.com, look up Shane Bieber, and you'll see what regression looks like, because every year those numbers keep creeping. Or if it's the K rate, those numbers keep coming down. And so Bieber, I think, to me, is a trade candidate that the Angels would want to avoid. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd stay away from him because he reminds me of Lucas Giolito and some of the regression that he had last year. And if I'm going to choose between Bieber and Glasnow, I'm going to go after Glasnow simply because he's had a history of being consistent, and the Angels need somebody at the top of this rotation that they can count on, not somebody that can be a reclamation project. That has never worked for the Angels, and I don't think it'll work in 2024.
I would definitely take Glasnow as well, because again, his numbers are right in line with the expected numbers.
Yeah.
So that means that he's not due for any kind of regression anytime soon.
Hey, today's show is brought to you by our friends at Logix Credit Union. We know that you come to this show for a lot of in-depth analysis and hot takes. Well, let me give you the hottest take of the day. The best lineup in the LA area is the lineup of auto loans with Logix. First, the top of the lineup, one of my favorites, the proven and dependable new and used vehicle loan. You can count on these guys to give you low rates and save you big time money. Next up, they've got an exciting new rookie sensation in their electric vehicle loans with super low rates and flexible payment terms. And then rounding out their lineup, they've got their auto refinancing loans and lease buyout options. With these guys, you can lower your monthly payments and you can get on the road to owning your car a whole lot faster. And I know that you come for all these really hot takes, and we gave you some hot takes from Logix, but seriously, you can't beat what Logix has to offer you. So visit your local Logix branch in the LA area, and their amazing team of members would love to help you. And you can apply online in minutes at logixbanking.com/car. That's LOGIX banking.com/car.
All right, Mike, getting into the last segment and the last trade candidate that the Angels have been linked to, that's Corbin Burnes. Let me tell you a little bit about Burnes in 2023. He had 32 starts, Mike. He went 10-8 with a 3.39 ERA, 193 and 2/3 innings pitched, 73 earned runs, 22 home runs surrendered, 66 walks, and 200 strikeouts. He's got an ERA plus of 127. I like these numbers right here. 9.3 strikeouts per 9 and 3.1 walks per 9. The best whip in all of the National League.
Wow.
At 1.069. And then he had a 3.81 FIP. So he uses a 5-pitch mix. He's got a cutter at about 94.5 miles per hour, a curveball at about 80, a changeup at 89 miles per hour, a slider at 86, and a sinker that sits about 95. He's estimated to make $14 million in arbitration. Mike, remember, was it last year or the year before that him and the Brewers had a little bit of a tiff because of going into arbitration? He didn't really appreciate the defense they made for not paying Burnes what he was worth. And that had some sour grapes there. Now, the good news is that he's continued to be a good pitcher for them. He's durable, my friend. He's only missed 32 days in his career, and one of them was an IL stint for COVID. So it wasn't even like a muscle issue or a bone issue or anything like that. It was a COVID issue. And so that durability really sticks out to me.
Let's talk about what's good about Corbin Burnes. He's the pitcher that you would want. He's got everything that you would want in a starting pitcher and even somebody at the top of the rotation. He doesn't get hit hard. 86.4 average exit velo, a 5.3 barrel percentage, 32.4 hard hit percentage, and a very decent 44.1 ground ball rate. He ranks in the upper 60s in terms of percentile rankings for chase rate, whiff rate, and K rate, and he isn't outperforming his expected stats. And where he is, like his cutter and his slider, his potential regression really isn't that significant. So, John, as you see here, the good, are there anything that stands out, like red flags, anything that you would say, hey, we got to pay attention to this?
So the one thing that, honestly, it was really hard to find something wrong with Corbin Burnes, and that's a really good thing. The one thing that stood out to me from, his previous years, 21, 22 to this past year, 2023, the strikeout rate, it dipped, and the walk rate increased this past year. But Mike, that seems like a fixable problem. I think you get him in the zone a little bit more with his stuff. Obviously, the sinker is going to play low in the strike zone, and you're going to try to get guys to swing and miss over that. But you're also going to induce that ground ball rate that he has going for him, that 44% ground ball rate. So that's the benefit of having that sinker available to him. I think about the cutter as well, Mike, and that's either going to run in towards a hitter or run away from the hitter, depending on if they're in the left-handed batter's box or the right-handed batter's box. And sometimes you just have to fool guys that way and get them to chase or swing over it if it's running in on their hands. And perhaps it wasn't as effective this year as it's been in the past. And that makes sense. Guys get figured out, and, the book gets out there on guys, and there's plenty of video on Corbin Burnes, I'm sure. So to see that the walk rate went up and the strikeout rate went down, I think he's just got to make the adjustment. I think that that's the biggest thing. Now, there is another, I'll say pink flag, because not quite a red flag, but here's the thing. If he misses his pitch, which is not often, by the way, but if he throws a meatball right down the middle, hitters are really good at recognizing that it's a meatball, and 75% of the time they take advantage of it and hit it out. I will say, though, of every single pitch he threw this season, only 6% of them were meatballs. So it doesn't happen very often that he misses, but when he does miss, 3/4 of the time, it's going to get taken over for a ride. So those are the only things that you could look out for with Corbin Burnes. Mike, of the 4 pitchers we spoke about today, who do you think is the best candidate for the Angels?
1A would be Corbin Burnes and 1B would be Tyler Glasnow. I think I would prioritize both of those guys. Not sure you have enough pieces to trade for both of those guys. So if I had to make a trade right now, I think I would lean in the Tyler Glasnow direction. Just simply because he seems to be a bit more of the ace type of pitcher that we would want. I know he's got some injury history, which causes me to go, maybe Burnes would be better. But I think Glasnow, with his numbers, with his expected numbers, everything was up and to the right with him. And so I would say go after him first and then Corbin Burnes second. If you can get both and somehow wield some magic, that would be beautiful. And have both of these guys on our team would be fantastic at the start of that, the top of that rotation.
Absolutely. For me, if I'm going to pick one here, I'm going with Corbin Burnes. The reason being is because we've traded with the Brewers in the past. They seem willing to take on some of the guys the Angels have in the system that don't really necessarily pop to anybody else. I think of Elvis Peguero last year, and was it Jansen Junk too? Did he go over to? No, he did he go somewhere else? Either way, we saw what happened with Elvis Peguero and the Brewers. He actually had a decent season. So I feel like the Brewers are more likely to find something in the Angel system that they like, that maybe you and I are like, fine, take it, go for it. I don't care. The other thing is Corbin Burnes is a SoCal guy, grew up loving the Angels. I think that would be a big appeal to him. He's the perfect extension candidate. You trade for him and you lock him up, just like I mentioned with Glasnow. I think I'm going with Corbin Burnes because, again, there isn't any regression coming his way. There are things here that you can fix with Corbin Burnes to make him get back to his Cy Young winning ways. Not that he had a bad season, but there are certainly things that you can work on and help him improve if you're able to get him. Honestly, I don't think it would take much. Maybe the Brewers want one of our starting pitchers who has some controllable years. That's an exchange that I would make, especially if it was like Griffin Canning or maybe even like Patrick Sandoval, because Corbin Burnes at the top of this rotation, I think that's a winning formula for the Angels in 2024.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Now make your second listen Locked On Sports Today. They are here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts from Locked On and their national shows covering every league. You can go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube, and you can subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel.
You know, it's our goal here on Locked On Angels that you walk away feeling like a smarter baseball fan, and more importantly, a smarter Angel fan. So if you're having conversations about which pitchers the Angels should get, now you know. Now you know who to tell your friends, hey, we should really go after this guy. So we hope that was helpful for you today. Get at us on Twitter at Locked On Angels, and on Twitter and Instagram at Super Halo Bros as well. Now, Mike, what do we have on deck for Monday's show?
Well, Shohei's expected to make his decision on his free agent destination before the end of the weekend. So we'll be here to laugh or to cry or to say I told you so or to say goodbye, or nothing might happen. And so we're going to be here to make sure that we get all the information about Shohei Ohtani. So join us on Monday on Locked On Angels.
And stay tuned to our social media, again, at Locked On Angels on Twitter, Instagram at Super Halo Bros, and here on YouTube, if you're watching on the video side. We'll have all the latest and greatest for you over the weekend, no matter what happens. All right, friends, thanks for being here. We hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, friends, and we'll see you back here on Monday.
Man, that would be so beautiful if they could pull off a Burnes and Glasnow trade.
Beautiful.
Harry would work some magic. Call Bill Stoneman.